So for step 16, the front arms, well, we need to grab D1 again. They're the exact same ones as before for the rear, but we have these C6 pieces that need to be attached as well. So we've got a number of screws and some flange nuts and ball connectors. So there is the hardware, the screws, the flange nuts, the ball connectors. There's our arms, and then there's these two C4 and C6 pieces. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So I think the first thing we'll do is let's get the ball connectors on. So you can see with this one, if we turn this around, and I mean they're the exact same piece essentially. There's nothing really different about either one of them. But what we'll do is we need to get a ball connector into the back of this. So let's do that and make sure that that goes in there, using that to kind of level it out. There we go. Pretty level. So we can just screw this all the way in. And I'm not going to over tighten because you don't want to strip anything out, but I do want to make sure it's definitely nice and tight. So there we go. There is one in place. And so if we turn this around, because they're identical, but we need to have these facing out, we know we need to get the other ball connector in place. So that's got to go here. Make sure that that's going in level. It's not this time, so I'll just pull it back a bit. Make sure that it is. It is now. So we'll screw that in all the way. And again, once I get to the end, I want it in and nice and tight and firm, but I don't want to over tighten because it's not a tapping screw. So if you just kept turning, you'd end up stripping this out. So there are the two arms. So what do we need to do? Well, let's work on this side first. So you need the C6 piece. Now, if you've cut these off and you get kind of confused, it's not really possible to get them confused because you have this has to be at the top, and you can't do that without it being in the wrong direction. So if we stick with this, you can see that it's going to sit there. And we've got two screws that are going to come in on either side, and then it is a flange nut that is actually attaching it all. So if I actually hold that there, because it's right, in between the two arms, I'm going to use the screwdriver here and hold the flange nut. Now, I'm not screwing this in all the way yet. I want to make sure that everything is seating properly. So again, I can hold that and screw that in just like that. I can feel it going all the way in. It's at the end now, so I will start tightening this up. And again, it's a flange nut, not a tapping screw. So make sure it's nice and tight, but don't over tighten anything. That feels pretty good. So there is one of the arms ready to go. So we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, only this has to be facing up and that way. So let's grab a screw, put that in there, put that in there, and we've got to get our flange nut in there, up and through. So I'm going to back that off a bit so I can get the screwdriver in there. There we go. Again, I'm just going to tighten it down just a little bit so I can get the other screw in place. Grab the flange nut, Same idea, holding it back. Screw this in. There we go. So now we're going to tighten this up. Maybe I'll do it this way. It's easier to hold. So again, I'm tightening it up, but don't go too crazy. You don't want to strip anything. That feels pretty good. So there are our front arms complete. So step 16 is done. So now we're going to move on to step 17 and work on the front axles. So for step 17, the front axles, well, you can see that we need to build these out first, and then we'll attach them to the arms that we built in the last step. And you can see there's quite a few pieces here that we need to collect. So there are all of the step screws, the bearings, the screw pins, the ball connectors, and our axles, and then of course our hubs for attaching all of the axle pieces as well. And of course our arms from the previous step. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So the first thing we'll do is let's get the ball connectors onto these hubs. Now if you've cut them off the F parts tree, what's interesting about these is you can't really get them confused because this says F2. If I grab this one and think, oh, this must be the right way, you'll notice it actually says 1. And this one says 2 right there. So we know that this is the F2 piece, which means that we know that the ball connector is going to come in from the bottom. So let's do that. We've got our box wrench. We know it's going to go into that hole right there. So let's make sure this is going to fit. Now you have to make sure that it's going to be level. It's not quite right yet. So there we go. So this is going to be, well, it's not quite right. We've got to get that in as level as we can. That looks about right. So let's screw this in. No, not quite. I'm just going to back this off a bit and make sure that it's going in level. Now that looks better. So we can screw this all the way in now. And again, when you get to the end, you want to make sure that it's definitely in, but don't over tighten. There we go. So that's one. So what we can do is we can put in our ball bearings. Now sometimes they're a little tight, so I'm actually going to use this, which is a wrench, but if I use the ends, I can use it to push it into place and get it down there in the hole. That feels pretty good. And we'll stick the other bearing on the outside. So again, that's in the correct place. So there is one of our hubs correct, and I'm not using grease because we're using the ball bearings, so I can just slide that through. So there is one hub ready to go. So we're going to do the same thing with the other side, and again, it's got the little 1 on it. We know that that's going to sit like that, so we know that the ball connector is going to fit on the other side. So again, going to try and get this in level. Actually, that time I got it in level right away, so this is a little easier. So we'll screw this all the way down. There we go. So we've got the ball connector in place. So now we need to get the ball bearings in place. So same thing again. I'm going to try and, my fingers just aren't small enough to be able to do it. So I'm going to grab this wrench here, push that into place. Now it's down there, nice and firm. And we'll stick the other bearing on this side. Just like that. And again, We're not using the grease because they're the ball bearings, so we can slide the axle through. And there we go. So those are the two hubs ready to go. So that means we can move on to the next step. So you can see here's the right one. So that's the one that would be this way. We know that we've got to put the hub piece into all of this. And maybe for the purposes of this, we're going to do that right away. Now these pieces are C3. They're identical. It doesn't matter which direction you put them. So let's get the hub in place. So you can see that based on this, the part that's, well, this part here that's raised is obviously at the top. So this is going to go in that way, and we're going to be screwing in these screw pins from the top going into that hub. Now, because I want to make sure that everything's going in level, I'm going to screw in the bottom. I'm going to screw in the top. Not much, but enough. Perfect. That means that it's correctly aligned so that now when I'm screwing these in, I know that it's not stripping anything or going in the wrong way. So I can tighten that up, do the same thing on the other side. There we go. They're in nice and firm, but everything's nice and loose. Oop, so loose we've even lost the drive shaft. So that's great. So what that means is we grab this, we know that the step screw is going to go in at the bottom. So we'll slide the step screw into there, through the hole, through the hub, through the hub, not over the hub, through the hub. Come on. There we go. And now we can screw this all the way in. And again, because it's a step screw, we don't have to worry about going too far. Once you're at the end, you're at the end. There we go. So it's nice and free. Now, I did lose the axle again with it sliding all over the place. So we're going to put that one back in there, and there we go. So that is how this should look at this point. Very cool. So I'll put that aside and let's work on the other one. So same again, we're going to grab our hub. We know that this has got to be sitting at the top. So that's going to fit in like so. We've got a step screw, put it into the top. I'll screw it in just a little bit. Turn it around, put the other one in, screw that in a bit. Now we know that the alignment is correct. We can finish screwing this in all the way. There we go. And everything is moving nice and free. So we know that that's correct. So what do we have left? We need to grab the left arm. This is going to sit in at the bottom, and we're going to run a step screw through there, through the bottom of this. It's amazing how many times that kind of pops out. Again, let's try this again. In through the bottom. There we go. And we'll screw this one in all the way. And again, once you're at the end, you'll know. So there is the left side. So there are the right and left front axles attached and ready to go. So step 17 is now complete. So now we can move on to step 18 and attach the front upper arms.